Yo, 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 what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking, all right? So real quick, shouts out to everybody that's already in the building. Shouts out to my man Maine. Shouts out to my man Jay Bird. All right. So make sure you guys watch this video all the way through to the end so that after you watch the information about the slap on the wrist that these thugs in blue got from their buddies, you'll be able to watch more content on Crimecast about how to survive resisting arrest, like Lance Stores did. All right. So I'm going to take you guys back a day, all right, to yesterday. And we're going to look at a report that came out on CBS News. All right. So let's check this out real quick.
To begin with the sentencing today for two former Minneapolis police officers involved in George Floyd's death. A federal judge will sentence J. Alexander King and Tu Tao this morning for violating Floyd's civil rights. Kirsten Mitchell is live in St. Paul with what we can expect in court today.
And AJ, these are the final two officers to be sentenced for violating George Floyd's civil rights, but they also are facing a state trial this fall. Now, J. Alexander King and
So now remember, these guys are facing a state trial this fall. All right. This is the federal trial. Shouts out to my man AJ. What up with it, bro?
Tao were convicted in February of 2 counts of violating Floyd's civil rights. Prosecutors have not made specific recommendations for King and Tao's sentence, but have requested less.
Now, that's interesting, right? Got to ask the question, why is it that the prosecutors did not make recommendations? Any other time, prosecutors jump on the opportunity to make recommendations for sentencing. But in this case, they didn't.
Time than Derek Chauvin and substantially more time than former officer Thomas Lane. We know Tao's attorney is asking for 2 years. King's request is sealed. Legal analyst Joe Tamburino, who is not affiliated with this case, said he'll be watching to see if King and Tao decide to speak during this morning's sentencing.
We could. Now, Mr. Lane didn't say anything, but every defendant in court, whether it's state or federal, has an absolute right to address the judge at sentencing, to say, here's my position, here's what happened, here's what I'm asking for the court, here's why I'm sorry. They could say basically whatever they like. So it's quite possible we'll hear from both individuals.
And Tamburino said if they choose to speak today, it could be used later in that state trial that's scheduled in October. Today's sentencing starts here at 10 a.m.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do, in fact, say anything. Kirsten, thank you.
All right, guys. So,
dear sir,
I am anxious.
Let's check this out right here. All right. So remember, this is an article from yesterday, and then we're going to get to the updated stuff. And I'm sure you guys can see down there at the bottom. As a matter of fact, I'll move this up. J. Alexander King gets 3 years and Tao Tao gets 3.5 in federal case on violating George Floyd's rights. Here's my question. How do you guys feel about those sentences? And real quick, shouts out to everybody that just came in. Shouts out to my man AB Promotion, Al B Black, Alonzo Griffin, Carlton Way, and my man Kareem Yee. What up with y'all? What do you guys think about that? You guys can see that red at the bottom, right? So now here it says the last 2 former Minneapolis police officers to be sentenced for violating George Floyd's civil rights are scheduled to learn their penalties Wednesday, which could set in motion another round of plea deal discussions in a state court over a killing that sparked a reckoning on racial justice. Now, you guys just saw those sentences at the bottom. This is what they consider a reckoning on racial justice. If you guys consider this a reckoning on racial justice, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. Shouts out to Cynthia. What up with it? If you guys don't feel that this is a racial reckoning, give me a thumbs down. So now here it says J. Alexander King and Tao Tao were convicted in February of 2 counts of violating Floyd's civil rights in the 2020 slang. So that's what you get for violating someone's civil rights while they're being killed. You get 3 and 3.5 years. What's that sound like? So now here it says the jury found they deprived the 46-year-old black man of medical care and failed to stop Derek Chauvin as he knelt on Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes while Floyd gasped for air. All right. Kueng held Floyd back. Former officer Thomas Lane held his feet, and Tao kept back bystanders, some of whom recorded the video that led to worldwide protests. Chauvin, who pleaded guilty last year to violating Floyd's civil rights and the civil rights of a teenager in an unrelated case, was sentenced to 21 years in federal prison. Lane, who twice asked if Floyd should be rolled onto his side so he could breathe, was convicted of 1 count and was sentenced to 2.5 years. So the only person that really got hammered is Chauvin. And the reason why Chauvin got hammered is because he had 2 civil rights violations. Shouts out to DJ Elmo and shouts out to Val. Question: does this sound like a win? If this sounds like a win, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If it doesn't sound like a win, give me a thumbs down and let me know what it sounds like. So now here it says prosecutors have not made specific recommendations for Kueng and Tao's sentence, but have requested less time than Chauvin and substantially more time than Lane. Now, let me ask you guys this. Lane was sentenced to 2.5 years. These two got 3 and 3.5 years. Is that substantially more than Lane? Is that substantially more than Lane? Let me know. Let me know, guys. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 11 people watching and we got 9 likes. If everybody could take a moment, smash that like button and get us to 20 likes, that'd be awesome. Gotta agree with Joe Ray. Joe Ray says, sounds like they're going to go to rehab in Malibu. Not enough time to affect change in behavior. 10 years. I don't know if these behaviors can be changed. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Tao's attorney is asking for 2 years. King's request is sealed. Got pretty close. Got pretty close. King and Tao got a victory last week when U.S. District Judge Paul Magnuson issued rulings that affect how their federal sentences will be calculated and could mean far less prison time. Far less prison time. The rulings, particularly one that cross-references their crimes with involuntary manslaughter instead of murder, mean the men head into Wednesday's hearing with a recommended range, look at this, of 4.5 years to 5.5 years. They might have faced a life sentence. So because of that ruling, the recommended range of their sentencing dropped from life to 4.5 to 5.5 years. Man, that's some magic, isn't it? That's some magic, isn't it, guys? How's that work? How's that work? So now here it says it made a huge difference. Mark Osler, a professor at the University of St. Thomas School of Law and former federal prosecutor, said the impact of it is already baked in now. Osler said one key is if Magnuson determines that Kueng and Tao were minor or minimal participants in the crime. Magnus found Lane was a minimal participant, resulting in a lower sentence. Osler said a minor participant would be more culpable. Now that's interesting. Yep. And remember, these are the people that we're supposed to be negotiating with, or these are the people that we're supposed to be, I don't know, somehow getting things from. This is what we're getting. This is what we're getting right here. You have one officer who at least made some effort to change the trajectory, and that's Lane. Also, Lane is a hero now. You have one most directly involved in the killing of George Floyd, and that's Derek Chauvin. And then you have these other two in the middle, Osler said. Now, that's interesting. That's interesting. You see the strategy? If you guys see the strategy, give me a thumbs up and drop it in the comments. So now here it says the potential for lower sentences for Kueng and Tao raise questions about whether they will consider a plea deal or risk trial October 24th in state court, where they face counts of aiding and abetting second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter. Osler said once the men know what their federal sentence is, they will likely seek a plea deal on the state charges that won't exceed the federal sentences and let them serve the sentences concurrently. So now, do you guys see what they've been set up with? They've been set up with a situation where they're going to try to get sentences at the state level that are not in excess of 3 or 3.5 years. What do you guys think about that? What do you guys think about that? So now here it says Kueng and Tao can still appeal their federal convictions. If they plead guilty in state court, any federal appeal would be moot, said Mike Brandt, a criminal defense attorney who has been following the case. But it's also hard to win a federal appeal, he said. Those are some of the calculuses they are going to have to make terms of. Do I go to trial and risk something worse? Do I think I have a good shot at appeal on the federal case? Brand said. Kueng, who is black, and Tao, who is Hmong American, will likely remain free on bond after Wednesday's sentencing and be allowed to self-report to prison, especially since they have a pending trial and will need to be in contact with their attorneys and be present for their court proceedings. So never forget and pay very close attention, because King, who has a white mother, is described here by CBS as black. I told you guys yesterday, and I wasn't even keeping up with this. So it's funny that this happened to take place today. But I said one of the things that they don't focus on when it comes to the George Floyd trial is the diversity of the murderers. Now, why do you think the mainstream media doesn't concentrate on the diversity of degeneracy when it comes to the George Floyd murder case? Maine says he's mixed. And at first, I think he was Asian and black with those eyebrows. Now, here's my question. If he's mixed, why are they calling him black in the media? His mom is white. We all know that. The New York Times did an article about him. So now, here's my question. What's more influential? CBS telling millions of people that this guy's black, or when inside our little echo chamber here? See the importance of having your own media? So now here it says Lane, who is white, pleaded guilty to a state charge of aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter and is awaiting sentencing in that case. He was allowed to remain free on bond after his federal sentencing. Now, how many times have you seen them allow murderers and people who are on trial for aiding and abetting murder to be allowed to roam freely? How often have you seen that? Is that something that you see very often? So now here it says Chauvin, who is white, was convicted of second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in the state court and is serving a 22.5-year sentence. His federal and state sentencing are being served simultaneously. All right. So there's that. And they absolutely had the People of Color Coalition on Floyd. Absolutely, man. What they're not doing is they're not focusing on the fact that white supremacy is a diverse employer. They're trying to downplay the racism. So now here is this is the official article right here. I'm going to pull this up. And real quick, guys, if you guys have not smashed that like button, please help your boy out. Make sure that you guys smash that like button. Also, make sure that you guys share the video. And remember, guys, watch the videos all the way through to the end. And at the end of the videos, don't move a muscle. Just make sure that you stay there. It'll take you to another stream or another video. Smash the like and drop a comment. All right. This is the article from just now. July 27th, 2022 at 12:29 p.m. Tao Tao was sentenced to 3.5 years. J. Alexander King gets 3 years for violating George Floyd's civil rights. What do you guys think? Here's my question for everybody, and I need everybody in the comment section to give me their idea of what's right versus what's wrong. Is this justice? Is this justice? Is this what justice looks like? That's the question. So now here it says, former Minneapolis police officer Tao Tao was sentenced Wednesday to 3.5 years for violating George Floyd's civil rights, while J. Alexander King received a 3-year sentence. King and Tao were convicted in February of 2 counts of violating Floyd's civil rights in the 2020 slaying. The jury found that they deprived the 46-year-old black man of medical care and failed to stop Derek Chauvin as he knelt on Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes while Floyd gasped for air. Kueng held Floyd back. Former Officer Thomas Lane held his feet, and Tao kept back bystanders, some of whom recorded videos that led to worldwide protests. So as you guys can see, when it comes to CBS, what they do is copy and paste their own material. These guys copy and paste their own material. U.S. District Judge Paul Magnuson said both Kueng and Tao will surrender on October 4th and serve their sentences either in Duluth or Yankton, South Dakota federal facilities. Tao was given 42 months for each charge, while Kueng got 36 months for 2. And Magnuson said both charges would be served concurrently. So they're doing what they can to make this time go as fast as possible and to make these people as comfortable as possible. Now, is anybody surprised by this? I know there was a lot of people that really got on their high horse and thought something was going down and something was happening, and that just all of this stuff was about to pop off because George Floyd had got these sentences, or because Derek Chauvin had got these sentences. And I told everybody pay very close attention to the entire thing because it's going to seem like something to rejoice over at the beginning, but at the end, by the time this is over, everybody's going to be pissed. And it seems like people are not too happy. Their prison sentences will be followed by 2 years of supervised release. During victim impact statements Wednesday, Floyd's second cousin argued for King to receive the maximum sentence. King's defense attorney, Thomas Plunkett, said he recognized the seriousness of the offense and the depth of the tragedy, but argued that the prosecution was trying to make the tragedy deeper in their sentencing request. He asked for a downwards departure. Wow. Wow. So now here it says King declined to make a statement before hearing his sentence. So now Maine says whites and all these minorities, including Obama, will snuff out the black demographic politically. Now, here's my question. I mean, is that a challenge? Is that very difficult for them to do? I mean, are they really getting any resistance? I mean, if you bend over and pull your pants down, can you really call it the R word? You know what I'm saying? I would go as far as to say the black demographic is giving its political influence to these other groups. I wouldn't even say that these other groups are snuffing out or taking or fighting or any of that. I would say that we act as a demographic to be herded and to not be serviced by our own doing, by our own will. You know, that's the way that people choose to live. So when you choose to live that way, these kind of things happen. It's not a mystery. You know what I'm saying? So, like, here goes my thing though. How many people in the audience, in the crowd that was watching those police officers? It was 4 police officers right there. And it was massive amounts of people surrounding those police officers. And what they do? They just sat there and let that shit happen. Recorded it. Bravo, bravo. But I mean, they recorded a killing. And then also look at people like King. That's a willing participant. And what's being done to deal with or to check willing participants? What's being done about anything? The priority is for people to infight and internally fight. That's the priority. That's what's more important. You know what I'm saying? That's where the priority is, at least. At least that's what it seems on the outside looking in. Who knows? We'll see. So now here it says during Tao's sentencing, prosecutors argued he did nothing to intervene, despite pleas from bystanders. So I mean, bystanders were pleading while also seeing that these officers not only weren't responding to their pleas, but they didn't intervene. I agree. So what's the difference between that and a traffic stop? And yeah, that's true. Shouts out to Sunstar. With cops now trying to stop recording closer than 8 feet, this George Floyd video might have never happened. Yeah, that's facts. That's big facts. Because they're absolutely doing that. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 20 live viewers. Shout out to everybody that's watching. Definitely appreciate each and every one of you. And we got 18 likes. If everybody bangs on that like button, we'll have 38 likes, which would be great. So please help us get to that 38 likes. That would be awesome. And I agree, Val. No, this is not justice for Floyd. Absolutely. If you guys agree with Val, give me a thumbs up in the comment. If you guys disagree with Val, give me a thumbs down. So now here it says his defense attorneys argued that he is a very good and decent man who made a mistake. So now this is interesting. He's a good and decent man, and he made a mistake. But George Floyd is not. How does that work? So now here it says Tao made a 20-minute long statement before his sentencing in which he quoted verses of the Bible and talked about his Christian faith, which he came to after May of 2020. Kueng, who is black, again, they list him as black, and Tao, who is Hmong American, still faces a state trial that's slated to begin on October 24th. Lane, who is white, pled guilty to a state charge of aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter and is awaiting sentencing in that case. He was allowed to remain free on bond after his federal hearing. Chauvin, who is white, was convicted of second-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter in state court and is serving a 22.5-year sentence. His federal and state sentences are being served simultaneously. So there's that. So there's that. All right. So these are the live updates. All right. So now we actually have a news report, and this news report here is from Fox 29. Kueng sentenced to 3 years for violating George Floyd's rights. So this person named Roots Tracker says, well, time to pay for that mistake. Enough with the excuses. Which excuses? The excuses that those cops that got killed by Lance Stores had? Maybe it was a training issue that they got wasted by a suspect that resisted arrest? Is that what you're talking about? Those excuses for that incompetency that led them into a casket full of piss? Is that what you're talking about? Because if that's what you're talking about, then I'd have to agree with you. Or are you talking about that mistake that these officers made? Because these officers, I don't think they made a mistake. Carla says he's not accepted by his white family community. Did they ever prove that George knowingly used a fraudulent bill? The arrest wasn't necessary. I don't know if they did. And you know what's interesting, Sunstart? They never expand on that. That's a great question. According to white people, George Floyd deserved a death sentence for being high on meth. Which, if that's the case, I mean, shouldn't we apply that to the entire meth epidemic? That would be pretty detrimental, right? That would lead us into replacement theory. That would lead us into numbers drastically decreasing faster than they already are, right? But I find it fascinating how they think that George Floyd deserves a death sentence for being high on meth. Kueng was sentenced to 3 years for violating George Floyd's rights. Now, do you guys feel that this was an appropriate sentence? If you guys feel that this sentence was appropriate, give me a thumbs up. If you guys do not think this was an appropriate sentence, give me a thumbs down. Facts, man. Big facts. So now here it says the final two former Minneapolis police officers who violated George Floyd's civil rights were sentenced Wednesday in federal court. J. Alexander King and Tao Tao were convicted in February of 2 counts of violating Floyd's civil rights in the 2020 slaying. The jury found they deprived Floyd, a 46-year-old black man, of medical care and failed to stop Derek Chauvin as he knelt on Floyd's neck for 9.5 minutes while Floyd gasped for air. Now, I have a question for you guys. Why do you guys think that they didn't stop anything? Why do you guys think that they didn't intervene? And shouts out to Robin. What up? Why do you guys feel that they didn't intervene? Do you guys think that they should have? I think that they should have. But they didn't. So my question is, why didn't they? So now here it says Kueng was sentenced Wednesday morning to 3 years in federal prison and 2 years of supervised release. He is ordered to surrender himself on or before October 4th. Now, I want to ask you guys another question. Do you guys feel that it's appropriate that all of these police officers who are involved in this have been allowed to surrender themselves? Or do you think they should have been delivered to court in handcuffs? In most cases, they don't let people who are on trial for these kind of crimes surrender themselves. That's not how that usually works. They were on code. Shouts out to Kareem. That's a fact. I agree 100%. So now here it says Tao is still awaiting his sentencing, which was scheduled for Wednesday morning. So we already know what Tao's sentencing is now. Tao got 3.5 years. Okay. Federal prosecutors requested that the judge sentence Kueng and Tao to less time than Chauvin, but more time than Lane. Chauvin got 21 years, while Lane got 2.5 years. So now we got one of those sick kind of jokes popping off. They asked for a little bit more time than Thomas Lane. They gave these two 3 and 3.5 years. They said, aha, joke's on you. So now here it says Kueng and Tao's defense got a victory last week when the judge issued a ruling that will result in a substantially lower sentence than the men might have otherwise faced. Now, why do you guys feel that the judge would have issued that particular ruling? Yeah, I agree, DJ Elmo. I agree. So now here it says the sentencing could renew discussions of a plea court deal in state court where the men are charged with aiding and abetting both murder and manslaughter. Their state trial in that case is scheduled to begin on October 24th. So pay very close attention to how long this is drawn out. And at the end of the day, my question for everybody is this what justice looks like? Is this what justice looks like? I think that's a pretty good question. Don't you guys? So let me know in the comment section if this is what justice looks like and why it does or doesn't. And also, don't move a muscle, because if you guys are interested to see how to not face a fate like George Floyd and to survive resisting arrest, stay tuned and you will get a good dose of instructional. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you already know what to do. Make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Follow all of my backup channels. Always watch all the videos all the way through to the end. And I will catch you all on the next video. All right.